Chapter 10. The hour was late as Vasil's Mercedes quietly crumpled its way over fresh snow and came to a standstill on Vasilievsky Boulevard in front of the doctor's gardens. The snow was still coming down in large, ragged flakes, being eagerly pushed along by a brisk wind which spattered the windscreen of the car ferociously. "The embassy's on the other side of the park, Vasil," said Francis. "I will leave you here and go back to your house. Somebody needs to tell the guests that you have been called away. I'm not sure what I will say, but don't worry about it. It isn't only your embassy on the other side of the park, my friend, but also mine," Vasil quipped, smiling at Francis. Vincent leaned forward over their shoulders, turned to Francis and said, "Fancy a walk?" Getting out of the car, Francis and Vincent stood on the pavement and watched as Vasil U-turned and returned from where they had come. The cold gripped hold of them and began to squeeze tightly. Without saying anything, both turned and faced the magnificent park, which was illuminated incandescently by pathway lighting. As the snow fell upon the trees, benches and ground, it flickered and danced as if alive in the light. Vincent said, "It's amazing how much more alive you feel in the cold, isn't it?" "I suppose that means you must feel the most alive when you're close to death. I feel like I'm going to catch my death of cold out here," Ambassador Sunderland retorted. As both men were now walking at a slow pace down the main path, which cut a course through the park, the trees overhung and crossed branches like chess players clasping their hands, considering their next move. "Speaking of death, do you think you'll be able to tell me how it is that you're not dead, but standing here enjoying this frightful Slavic weather with me?" As they walked, Vincent Madden fell silent, providing no answer, and shepherded Francis towards the doctor's monument, situated proudly in the centre of the park. A tall, pyramid-like structure constructed of white stone, the monument stood as a timeless tribute to the medical staff of the Russian army who fell during the war. Having led Francis to the monument, Vincent stopped before it and exhaled a heavy breath which hung in the air like smoke in the quiet, breezeless park. The lighting from the ground ran up the sides of the memorial, highlighting the ferocity with which the snow was now coming down. The silence was deafening, with only the faintest sound of snow falling on the ground audible. Francis stared straight ahead at the memorial plate. "Francis, I need you to really listen to me and understand what I am saying. The forces at work here must not be ignored. The invitation that I handed to you says that the envelope you will be bidding on this evening will contain information which will lead to the location of the craft or vehicle which first brought life to this planet. It is that craft which Doherty has called the Pebble." Francis wasn't sure what to say. He paused and retorted, "Human life?" "Yes, maybe. I don't know." Francis turned and faced away from the monument, gazing through the peaceful park, beginning to piece together what had been said to him. "That is quite a lot to take in. It's hard for me to understand, although that may be why it sounds all the more frightening. You say the first life brought to Earth?" The ramifications of what he had just been told were resonating around Francis's head, but confronted with this information, he wanted to hear more about what Vincent was telling him. "I know that you are a good person. I should have realized when I died that I would be much lonelier than when I was alive. I've never been a family man, but not visiting my mother in her final years was by far the hardest part of it. I know that you did visit her on many occasions and kept her company. That is something which only a good person would do," Vincent conceded. "Vincent, visiting your mother was the least I could do. I took the news of your death so badly. When I heard your voice coming from the back seat earlier, I can honestly say that I have never experienced such shock, fear and happiness at the same time. Really is quite something. I don't recommend it." Turning from the monument and facing towards the embassy, Francis started to walk but was pulled back by Vincent. "We aren't going there," he whispered. "Come with me." Still clasping onto Francis's arm, Vincent followed back in the direction from which they had come. The only sound emanated from a distant passing gritting lorry, treating and peppering the wintry street. chilling sensation ran through Francis, who, after finishing this bitter cocktail of information which had been served up to him, began to tremble. This was a result of the cold temperature and unknown truth which he could not have surmised in his wildest fantasy. This and the knowledge that he was being asked not to go to his family at the embassy. His father had always taught him that those with whom he kept company in his life would ultimately shape his life. He was now in the company of a dead man, and surely there could be no worse form of company. What Vincent had been explaining, it was a fantastic story, science fiction in nature. Vincent, stop. What you're asking of me is to walk into an auction and bid for something on behalf of our government. I haven't even looked at the invitation which you gave me. I need to speak with someone to confirm all of this. This is over my head. There is nobody who you can speak with about this. I was chosen to come to you as somebody that you trust to bring you this information. I will accompany you to the auction. You have the invitation, and you will have to decide for yourself if you trust me, Vincent hesitantly blurted. What do you mean, decide for myself if I trust you? What is our buy limit for this auction? Asked Francis. Vincent reached into his pocket and pulled out his wallet, from which he produced a plastic card. Shaking it backwards and forwards, he uttered, I'm sure that this card must have a limit, but I haven't been told what it is. I've been asked to make sure that you keep bidding until you win the auction. The auctioneer will hold the funds in an escrow account until such time as the artifact is located. Once the find is confirmed, the money will go to the family of Mr. Doherty. We understand that he has set up a trust fund for his children. Hi, my name's Antony Botting, and I'm the author of the Pebble in the Dark trilogy. If you'd like to hear more of this story, please subscribe to this channel and ring the bell below. See you next time.